Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be looking at this album and today celebrates its 40th anniversary. I'm going to be reviewing Elvis Costello's debut album, My Aim Is True. So yes, as I said, today celebrating 40 years being released on the 22nd of July in 1977. A bit of background information about the album now and also Costello's early career. In the mid 70s, Costello had been performing in London's pub scene. However, in 1976, a new record label was formed called Stiff Records. He took his demos to this new record company. At first they were reluctant to sign him and initially wanted him as a songwriter for Dave Edmunds. Costello would either write his songs late at night as to not to wake up his wife or young son, or while commuting to his job on the London Underground. Because Stiff Records were impressed with his actual songwriting, they offered to let him record and record some songs at London's Patchway Studios. The sessions took place over a period of a few months, from late 1976 through to early 1977. In total, it took about 24 hours to record the record, and only cost about £2,000, which was very little for an album at the time. And as I said, it was recorded, made while Costello was still working as an office clerk. The backing band which Costello was given for this record was called Clover, a American country rock style band. Some of those members would later find success joining Huey Lewis and the News. So when some of these songs were finished, the record company was so impressed with the actual recordings, they abandoned their initial idea of having Costello as a house songwriter, and instead decided to issue some singles. The first two singles were Less Than Zero and Allison. However, both flopped, failed to chart, and Costello continued his office job. However, they had faith in him and offered him to quit his job, would match his working wage, and would also provide him with an amplifier and tape recorder. From when the album was released, it was almost instant success, really. Within 3 weeks, Costello was on the cover of a major music paper, and the album hit number 14 on the UK charts, just out of nowhere. As Costello's sort of popularity grew during the later part of 1977, he assembled another group of musicians called the Attractions. Apparently Costello and the Attractions would re-record the entire album with the intention of their re-recorded versions being used for all subsequent pressings. However, those sessions remain unreleased to this day. At the time, the album generally got a lot of critical acclaim, was on many top albums end of year lists for 1977. It was also ranked at number 80th on the greatest albums of all time list by VH1, and also 37th best of the 1970s by Pitchfork magazine. So generally a very sort of highly thought of album here. It will be certified platinum in the US and silver in the UK. Okay, so I'm now going to show you my vinyl copy of the album. As you can probably tell, this is a reissue of it. The originals, they're not too tricky to get. They are a little bit rare. There's been there's been so many different reissues of this album over the years. So yeah, I do quite like the artwork. It's very bright, very vibrant. No no custom inner sleeve with this one, just on this sort of Columbia style record label there. So yeah, that's the vinyl record looked at. Okay, so now I'm going to go over each of the album's songs. I will score each track out of 10, and then those scores will be used to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. So it starts off brilliantly with Welcome to the Working Week. which I just like love the way this kicks off the album. Like it's quite sort of like a slow like introduction like to this song, like for like the first like 20 seconds like or something. Like whether like the song it just really gets going, like it's a very sort of like hard rocking track. Like great like harmony vocals like as well, like from Clover. Like as I said, like it's a very short song, like about like 1 minute 30. Like where like he packs so much like into this song, like it doesn't feel like incomplete, like it doesn't feel like a throwaway track. Like I think it is just a brilliant song. Follows it up with Miracle Man, which is equally brilliant, another 10 out of 10. Strong beat like going through this track, like it's very like melodic song, like very like well written. Lyrically, like it's about like his girlfriend like having like too high like having too high like expectations like of him, and like also like the song like itself is just brilliant. Like the actual recording like is like really tight, so yeah, a great song there, Miracle Man. Third track in is called No Dancing, which I'm giving a 9 out of 10 to. This is a slightly slower one, kind of sort of Phil Spector like inspired like sound like to the song. Like it's like a slower ballad, like basically like about like two like broken lovers like saying like how there will be like no dancing like when they get home. The music like is quite like melancholy, like and like acoustic driven like as well. Like it is a nice change of pace like for the album. Like it is like good to get like the slightly like slower song. So yeah, No Dancing would get a 9 out of 10. Then we get a song called Blame It on Kane, which I'm not too like fussed about this track. Like I mean, like it's quite good, like it swings along quite nicely. Lyrically it isn't as strong like as some of like the other ones like on the album. So yeah, like not a bad song there, a little bit of filler though. However, it's more than made up for like with like the next song, which is Allison, which is an absolute classic, like just an exquisite ballad, like just like a lovely like atmosphere like to this song. Like Costello sings it like really nice, like he sort of like croons this song like really like really well. Like it's like sort of like very like different like for like Costello like at like this early like point like in like his career. Like he would like later like revisit like this sort of like slower like ballad style like later on like with albums such as like Imperial Bedroom. Like whether like this is like one of like the only like ballads like on like one of like his like early records, and like I think it just works beautifully. Like I wish he'd done like more tracks like this actually. The guitarist from Clover, a guy called John McVie, adds some really nice like tasteful licks like to the song. Like well, like as I said, this was like the second single from the album. Unfortunately, it failed to chart. Like such like a big like shame, like really, because it is such a wonderful song. Like being covered like many times, like subsequently, and like that is how like it has got a lot of its like popularity. Sneaky feelings, you can't let those kind of people. The next one up is called Sneaky Feelings, which is sort of like a good solid like rocking track here. The band do some really nice harmonies like on this song. It's maybe like a little bit like repetitive lyrically like towards the end, like repeats like the line "I've still got a long way to go." Like that gets a little bit tedious like towards the end like of the song. Like well, like it isn't bad, like just a little bit like forgettable like as a song overall. She's watching the detectives. And then closing off side one of my vinyl copy of the album is Watching the Detectives, which is a song which wasn't on like the original version like of like, the album. And like in some ways it doesn't quite belong here because it was recorded like with like a different group like of like musicians. Like it wasn't with the Attractions. Like I like always thought that this was a Elvis Costello and the Attractions song. Like it wasn't like it was recorded like I forget like who like he done it with, but like it certainly like it wasn't Clover like or like it wasn't like the like Attractions either. Like it's a really great song. Like it was one of like his first like big hits. Well, I say like big hits like relatively so. Like it reached number 15 on the UK chart. like in late 1977. Like, it is a great song, like quite sort of like a reggae tinge track here. Very sort of like interesting lyrics, like about like sort of like his like wife, like who like would like who like would be like watching like detective shows and that, which like then like sort of like it like the story like ends up like happening like in like the characters like real life. Like, it's a very sort of like interesting like lyricless track. For me though, it isn't one of my personal favourites sort of like go-to Costello songs like from like this era. Like, however, I still think it is a brilliant song though, so yeah, a 9 out of 10 for Watching the Detectives.
And I won't get any older now, the angels wanna wear my red.
And then flipping over to side 2 starts off excellently with The Angels Wanna Wear My Red Shoes, which is a 10 out of 10, like an easy 10 out of 10 for me. This is one of my favourite Elvis Costello songs like ever. Like, apparently like he wrote this one like very quickly, like on like the train like going like into like Liverpool, like where like he is like actually like from like it's got a very sort of like 1960s feel to this one, like very sort of like bird sounding, like very sort of like bright, like very like melodic, sort of happy sounding song. Like, whether like it's like got like the Costello trademark like of having like quite like bitter lyrics, such as like I said I'm so happy I could die, she said drop dead and left with another guy. Just really sort of like effective like lyrics, I think. Like, great like call and response vocals as well. So yeah, just a brilliant song, like a perfect pop song like in like my opinion. The Angels Wanna Wear My Red Shoes.
Turn up the TV, no one listening will suspect even.
That's followed up on the album with Less Than Zero, which is another excellent song. Like, a great kind of like feel like to this song. Like, I love like the structure to this and like the stop-start nature like of it. Lyrically, like again, like another sort of like really interesting song. Like, Costello said that like he wrote this one like about like where he saw like a guy called Oswald Mosley like on like TV like being like interviewed. Like, this like guy like was like a former leader of like the British like Union of Fascists, and like Costello saw him on TV like trying like to like deny like his past, which like infuriated him. Like, when performing this song like in like America though, like it is like a common like misconception that it is about like Lee Harvey Oswald. So like when like performing this song like in like America, like Costello like would change like the lyrics like to like reflect like the JFK assassination. I mean, it is a brilliant song, and like is also like his debut single. It has to be like, for me, one of the greatest debut singles like of all time. Like, despite it like failing like to make like any like commercial impact, I still think it is a absolutely brilliant song. Less Than Zero would get a 10 out of 10.
Why don't you tell me about the mystery dance? I wanna know about the mystery dance.
Then we get a song called Mystery Dance, which I'm not too keen on. Like, this is one where like Costello, like he seems to do this one like a lot live, like for some reason. But yeah, like it isn't a song which I like particularly care for. Like, it's quite sort of like a throwaway song, like in like comparison like to Less Than Zero, Less Than Zero, Allison, and Watching the Detectives. Like, it's quite short, like sort of like a throwback like to like a 1950s like style like rock and roll song. Like, does have like a lot of like punk like urgency like to it like as well. Just slightly like unremarkable though. So yeah, like Mystery Dance for me would get a 10 out of 10, no, a 6 out of 10 I mean. And like probably would be my least favourite song on the album.
One of these days I'm gonna pay it back, one of these days.
Then he follows it up with a track called Pay It Back, which is another kind of like mid-tempo, like rockabilly style song. Like, there's nothing like too like special like about this song. There was like an early like demo like of this song, like which I like stumbled across like on like YouTube like the other night, which had a kind of like a sort of like a reggae like ska like arrangement to it, like which I think like works like a little bit better like with this song, and like certainly like would have like spiced up like the album, like I think like would have like given it like a bit more like variety like in sound. But like as it is, like Pay It Back like is like a pretty good song though, so yeah, 7 out of 10.
I'm not angry.
And then we get another favourite track of mine called I'm Not Angry, which is just sort of classic Costello, like kind of like very sort of like like very sort of like witty, like lyrically, like basically like about jealousy, like after like witnessing like an ex like girlfriend like going out like with someone else. Like the title like is like quite like contradictory because most of because most of like the lyrics themselves like are like quite angry, quite bitter lyrics, and like also like the music like as well like is like very tense, like quite sort of spiteful. Like the band themselves are just amazing like on the song, like the lead guitar, like just stunning like musicianship like on this song. So yeah, I'm Not Angry would get a 10 out of 10. And then we close the album with a song called Waiting for the End of the World, which I'm giving a 9 out of 10 to this song. Very sort of like recognisable like riff like on like this song, like which like makes like the song like move along quite well. Sort of like quite sort of like Bob Dylan-esque lyrics to this song, like tells like a bit of like a story like this track, like when like you listen like to like the lyrics, like it fades out like as well, like concludes the album like quite well, like a long like fade out like to this song. So yeah, like a good track there, like I think, Waiting for the End of the World. Okay, so overall this album would score 88%, which is a really a great score like for any album, like but for like a debut album such as this, like it is like just like remarkable. For me this is one of my favourite Costello albums. Like for me the highlights are like some of like the best songs like in like his entire back catalogue. However, there are places like on here like where he is still like trying like to find his feet, like find like his like identity. Like there's a lot of like sort of like rockabilly like style songs like Sneaky Feelings, like Blame It on Kane, like Pay It Back. Like those sort of songs like do drag the album down like a little bit for me personally. I also just like want to mention like the backing band like Clover, like they like really like complement Costello really well on this album. Controversially though, like I do think like that they could be better than the Attractions like as like a backing band. Like I know like certainly like they're like a lot more like iconic like the Attractions, like however certainly like in like more recent years like I think like Costello like plays like a lot better like with like Clover, because like they reunited I think in 2007 for like a charity performance like where like they performed like this entire album. It's on YouTube and it just sounds brilliant. Like the bands like sound like so tight, like even after like 30 years like off like last like playing that together. Like compare that like with like Costello's like recent performances like with like his like band like the Imposters, which like contains like two members like off like the Attractions. Like they sound like rather sloppy like in like comparison. So yeah, I think this is a brilliant album, like an essential one, like from 1977. Like I love the way it like very like cleverly like combines like the growing like emerging like punk sound like an attitude, like with like a kind of like throwback like to like the 1950s, like not only like in like Costello's sort of like Buddy Holly like inspired look, but also like the songs like as well, and like the excellent songwriting like with like lyrics like once again becoming like the main focus of the songs. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this album review. Like I would like to know what you think of this album down below in the comment section, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.